Okay, this is going to get edited together. This is off a 1997 Saturn SL2, which is a four-door, 4.9 liter. Anyways, this is a rotor where the back half has been worn through, and it sat here in the tote for a couple days, getting rainwater in it. So, anyways. This part of the rotor, these are the cooling fins. There's supposed to be another layer, like on the front, of metal there. And that is this surface rust. And those are the pads off. Well, I'm sorry. This one is off the outside of this side. These two are off the other side of the kid's car. You see slide pins and a caliper banjo bolt there that I did not want to be soaking in water, but ended up being soaking in water. That I wanted to save with the copper washers. Anyways, the rear surface of the caliper broke, and the car was continually drove that way. The piston kicked out, hyperextended, I should say, and then was kicked sideways because it was after the piece of metal for the brake pad came out, because once part of the rotor's gone, it just slid forward in the slide and was ejected. The slide goes around the rotor and holds the pads on either side. So once you got part of the rotor gone and you're down like this thin, then it can push off, or it may have been worn through, to tell you the truth. I mean, not all that may have been from the caliper. That may have been actually from the brake pad. It may have worn through the steel of the brake pad too. But the piston ended up riding against there for a bit, kicked it sideways, ripped the fluid seal. It was junk. The new caliper came with new slides and a new slide bracket, or mounting bracket, slide bracket, caliper holder bracket, or the slide bracket holds your pads. That's it for part one. I'll do part two inside. Okay, this is part two of the Saturn video. There's a guy across the street from me moved into the place that had burned, and he was doing the brakes on his kid's Saturn, and the kid lives in the park. There's a row of trailers behind me, and so the kid lives one back and one over. So our front porches face each other. I talk to him and his girlfriend infrequently. They have a newborn, a couple-month-old newborn. I think the kid was born like the last week of May or the first week of June. Not sure. But anyways, infant child would probably be the correct term. That rides in this car. The guy that moved in the new place, or the place over there, the new guy, besides the fact that he's always hanging around because he doesn't work, he's on disability. Anytime I'm out there, I'm trying to make a video, he thinks I'm outside talking to him. I'd be outside today, but the wind is kicking up and howling to the point that I had to delete the last video because it was howling so bad that sitting inside here, you could hear the howling over me talking at times. Well, this guy took that car and he did the left side before I went outside, because I'm working 6:30 in the evening to 6:30 in the morning, and I don't get home till about 7:30 in the morning. So I come home and I go to sleep. You start at about 11 a.m. I'm not up yet. I like my sleep. So this is about noon 30 or something. I hear a whole bunch of cussing and swearing and tools flying, and So I went over there to see what's up. They'd done the left side already, or he had done the left side. And he's got the caliper up, He's got the one slide out and he's turned the other one up, and he's got it out too far, and so he's trying to compress the piston. And the piston is sticking out, and I'm trying to, hang on a second here. Okay, so here's the orientation the piston should normally be in. This is just a piece of fuel or vacuum line, or power steering line. I don't remember what the GM part number comes back to. Anyway, so your piston's supposed to be at this orientation to the caliper, slide in and out. Well, this one was kicked sideways about that far. Okay, and the piston's always supposed to be out this far. This one was out this far, past maximum allowable service extension. Okay, when it's out that far and it's at an angle, all the fluid seals were torn and leaking. You're not just putting the piston back in there. Everything needs to be taken apart, inspected. The fluid seals all need to be changed. Then you could reassemble it, assuming the bore doesn't have damage. The face of the piston that contacts the brake pad had damage. So the piston was not usable. Plus the head of the piston, the part that sticks out and contacts that brake pad, was mushroomed from the brake pad that goes between the piston and the backside of the rotor being gone. And yes, once you wear the material off of brake pad, that metal backing may wear through, or it may come apart. It may have actually gotten so thin that it actually slipped out between the slide and the rotor, since the back half of the rotor was gone. The kid that owns the car, he's 21. He's never been shown how to do certain things. He doesn't know about automotive brakes. Now, I don't think that it's an unwillingness to learn. It's just he doesn't know it. You can't fault somebody for not knowing stuff if they were never taught it. How do they know it? The kid doesn't know much about tools or anything, but when I got the parts, I made the kid go buy the parts. I took him to the store to buy the parts, and I was putting things back together. I'd start the bolts, and then I'd hand him the wrench, like the ratchet wrenches, gear wrenches, facing the correct direction. Tell him, and he asked me if I was pulling his leg on the one. I said no, I don't do that. I said I want you, the young kid with good muscles, to do all the hard work. I'm not getting paid here. And he's like, oh, because he's used to some people that joke around about this stuff. I don't do that when I'm trying to show somebody what they should do. And I checked everything myself, just to make sure everything was as snug as it needed to be. He put on the slide bracket. I put in the clips. I put in the brake pads. I let him take out the what am I trying to say? The slide pin at the bottom, so the caliper would flop up. I let him take it out, and I had him put it back in, and I checked it for torque. And one of the things I'd done before I took the caliper off, so I took a pair of vice grips and I crushed down on that brake hose like that with a pair of vice grips, about 3 inches from the caliper. And the master cylinder wasn't empty. It was near empty, but it was not empty. Yes, the importance of that. The importance of that is it did not drain all the fluid out of the master cylinder out of the line, which means air did not go back all the way into the system, which means less bleeding. And, at AutoZone, the kid bought the small bottle or jug of brake fluid, the one that's like this, the 12 ounce, I think it is. And he bought a thing of brake parts cleaner because I told him he had to have it. You have to clean the oil they put on there to keep them from rusting on the shelf. You got to clean that off the brake surfaces, and you use it also to clean the brake fluid off the caliper after you bleed the caliper, because there will be brake fluid. It does make a mess. And no, I don't have much luck with those rubber hoses and using a jar to catch it. I never have had good luck doing that. There's always been a malfunction. Always. So, got the kids' brake. Only had to bleed out the one brake, and this other guy had to go on the test drive. So I didn't even get to make sure that the brakes are working properly. But that guy, he sits out there all day long, or his dogs are out there barking all day and all night. So I can't go outside and talk without these dogs barking and howling, and him running his mouth and coming over and running his mouth. The guy doesn't know anything about cars, and he has no business owning tools that repair automobiles, and he definitely has no business working on other people's automobiles. The guy kept going on, I don't know anything about these Saturns. Well, if you don't know anything about Saturn, and you're really not that bright about cars to begin with, just stop. Don't do it. Don't work on somebody else's car when you don't know what you're doing. And definitely do not just try to shove in a hyperextended brake caliper piston. The fluid seals are torn. The head of the piston's mushroomed. Stop. That thing needs to go to a rebuilder and have parts replaced. And you don't have a rebuild kit. You don't have the reseal kit. You probably don't even know how to do it, because most of the people I knew that knew how to do it, they're all age 60 and above, and most of those guys don't do it themselves. Not even on Corvette stuff. They either send it out to a shop and have it done, or they go to a parts store or a restoration catalog and they buy a pre-rebuilt caliper. The people I knew older than that, most of them are gone. But even when I was starting out, they gave up doing it. Even though they could buy the reseal kits, for $5-6, they wouldn't do it. When old timers wouldn't do something, they would rather spend $40-50 to get a rebuilt caliper rather than $4 or $5 or maybe $10 for a rebuild kit. That told me something there. It's just like I got a whole bunch of wheel cylinder rebuild kits. Nobody buys them. The only time they buy them is if they're like pre-World War II vehicles where it's impossible to get a wheel cylinder. That's about the only time those sell. They don't sell for the 50s up, post-war cars. It rarely sell, and anything from like 58, 59 up, I can't even give them away. People do not want them. All right, well, that's all for now, and I gotta edit these two videos together, and maybe here in the next week I'll make some more. Remember, it's not y'all, it's me and the situation I'm in here with the work hours and some of the people around here. Sometimes I just can't make videos. But don't worry, I'm going to make more videos, even if I have to go to some other location to film them. Later, YouTube.